Welcome back. Before we get started, I just want to direct your attention up here to the corner. That's right. There he is, the bald brawler, the shaved smasher, the hairless hash slinging slasher himself, Grimm, the glass cannon CO of Advanced Wars by Web. And this is an epic tier 4 matchup here on this mixed base map called Looming Threat. But we'll get to the map in a second. Not as interesting as Grimm here. Grimm, the power puncher, plus 30% attack to every single unit on the board, but they also lose minus 20% defense. And also, I'm not trying to be the grammar police of math, but the lose minus 20% technically means gaining 20% because the two negatives cancel out. It's a double negative. And obviously, we all know the intent of what the CO description is trying to say. I just have a stick up my butt, and I just was compelled to point that out as a former math major and someone who does math for a living. It is in my DNA. It is a burning in my loins whenever I have to point that out. You probably want to punch me in the head. And speaking of punching people in the head, Grimm's got Knuckle Duster as his power, which increases that attack bonus to 50%, which can give Grimm a lot of extra firepower in order to break through some walls and one-shot some things. And also, we got 4 comm towers on this map, so if both players get 2 comm towers each, Grimm's attack will be 50% naturally. We'll have that permanent Knuckle Duster, and then that Knuckle Duster increase it to 70%. But if Grimm really wants to give his opponent the right there, Fred, and just slam his fist through the back of their skull, well, then he pops his superpower Haymaker, increasing that attack to 90%. And with the 10% bonus from popping your power, that's plus 100% attack. That is double damage. Everything is getting annihilated on the board, and it will be glorious. It will be the apocalypse. Grimm is one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, destruction and carnage. But Grimm is opposed today by Jake, a very solid pick in tier 4. What does Jake do? Well, does not get as much attack as Grimm. His units only get 10% power, but only if they're attacking from a plains tile. So Grimm is sitting here like talking to his buddies like that one superhero cartoon show where he's like, look what they need to do to even mimic a fraction of our power, as he scoffs at Jake's pitying 10%. But Jake has an ace up his sleeve that Grimm does not have, and that is the grit power of increasing the range of his land indirects. That's right. Through the power of his DJ music, Jake can activate Beatdown, which increases the range of his land indirects by 1 and increases that plains bonus further. But if Jake really wants to bust a subwoofer out, he could start blasting his music and activate his block rock, which will rock Grimm's block by increasing that plains bonus to absurd levels. It gives his vehicles plus 2 movement and gives his land indirects plus 2 range. It's a very, very good superpower, especially down here in the sewers of tier 4. Now we're going to talk about this map for a second. This is a really cool mixed base map, Looming Threat. I don't know if I said the name already, but there it is again. You got Grimm's little 2 base corner right here, and Jake's over here. And then you have these base airport areas on the side for both players. And then you have this interesting artillery right here, this pre-deployed artillery, which is covering these 2 buildings right here. And then what I've seen a lot is you go infantry cap, artillery over here. This artillery has 3 targets to pick from. Should probably interrupt the airport maybe. But interrupting the city is also good. Should not shoot the artillery, so you know every single time I'm shooting that artillery. And then this artillery will get hit, and then the caps will go through. Alternatively, you're about to find out, because these players do not go for that. And I'm not going to spoil anything. Let's get right into this amazing action here as both players capture their things. I'm going to turn my volume up just a tad so I can hear the sound effects a little bit better, because I like hearing the pitter-patter of little feet as infantry go to capture buildings. All right, over to Jake. And this opening is pretty typical, right? The game's not going off the rails yet. But we're going to see some interesting plays. Okay, there's the artillery to counter this artillery. And Grimm artillery, I mean, they are just smacking things. I don't know if this would be a one-shot if this artillery were to shoot here. Oh, it could be. It's a very high chance with the roll to one-shot that artillery. That's pretty cool. Um, you gotta love the Grimm artillery. Okay, we have the early recon over here. Jake is thinking Grimm is Sammy, and I just don't think like recons have this nice little road that they can go on. I just don't know if they're super good because I think the opportunity cost of not having a tank is a bigger deal. But the recon can interrupt some of these contested cities. So we'll see how Jake makes use of the recon. Okay, so we have a very interesting strategy over here by Grimm, and I do not agree with it. Grimm is capturing the city at the same time pointing this artillery right here. So um, the reason I think this is suboptimal is maybe this could work if the artillery was here and the infantry was here, because the airport can also be used to take out this artillery once you get it. If you capture the airport, you can build a copter, run around here, and smack the artillery, and then free up the tile or the city, right? So by doing this and by not going for the airport, um, Red can just let this go, hit the artillery, and then you're kind of back to square one, where you have to go heal your artillery. You no longer have this artillery to counter this, right? So Red can still keep locking down the airport. So we'll see how that play shakes out here. So everything else just seems pretty typical. Trying to rush these and maybe rush that comm tower. This is... Oh, I forgot to introduce the players. How silly of me. I got distracted by the characters. I forgot to introduce these amazing players who graced us with this beautiful game. We got Gold Puma, who is rated around 900, I believe. I just checked before I started recording, and of course I forgot because I'm a doofus. And then we've got Nico V, who is rated, I think, like 790. And both these players, though, made some good plays, made some iffy plays, and we are going to look at it today. Okay, so here's another strategy you can do. This samey strategy. You just ignore the artillery and you just capture anyway. So this artillery has to pick a target. Do you go after this one and deny this city, keep getting that like small income advantage? That's a 2k income swing, right? Or do you stop the airport? In my opinion, I think you stop the airport, because if you stop the city, this a copter can just come out here, hit the artillery, and then the city will fall eventually. But if you can deny that airport for a long time, maybe good things can happen, because the airports are pretty strong on this map with all the woods and tanks flying around. It's hard to like shift anti-air, because like if you build a copter right here, right, you could build an anti-air here, and then the copter goes this way, and then you have to build an anti-air here, or a counter copter. But you get the point, right? Mixed base maps, copters are really easy to front shift. Alright, Grimm is going to try and get this city super early. Recon, probably going... Oh, no, this is going to go through because it's Grimm's turn. So, I don't know what this Recon is going to do. But it's maybe it's trying to stop this. But Grimm could just build a tank right here and counter that if necessary. Okay, so Grimm decides to stop this. I think stopping the airport would be better. As I said, okay, there's the tank. So, the infantry over here is protected or covered by the tank against the Recon there. And... now we join cap right here, and the airport goes, but Grimm is still going to just pelt this infantry right there with artillery shells, and there goes that artillery. Nice artillery pickup there from Jake. That city goes through, but the airport is still locked down, and how is Grimm going to deal with that artillery? Well, only one way to find out. Okay, Recon is coming down here, so almost forcing out a tank from down here as well, but that's fine for Grimm. Grimm wants to be building tanks down here. Also want to build a tank over here probably. Grimm's going to have 18k next turn, so you can afford 2 tanks. Tanks in the middle are really strong because they can go either direction and pressure those. But also here it's just solid to have a tank, counter the Recon, counter any tanks that might come out from Jake there. Speaking of that, there's one right there. Alright, back to Grimm. Just going for the city as Jake vacated this mountain to capture this. And I'm not sure which one is better. I play this map a lot, and I see it shake out in a lot of different ways, but I don't really know, like, the meta. Okay, denying this still. Fair enough. You got to take that shot. And now, Grimm is just going to brute force this airport right here, right? As we see... Is there a tank coming out from here, actually? Oh, no, just regular infantry. The tank is here. 10k, another tank, maybe? Oh, another tank from here. Okay, I see. So tank chaining. Okay, solid. You know, because this tank wasn't in range, but you gotta have that nice little tank chain going on, right? That's everyone says tank chains are good, right? Okay, so by this infantry build, now we see Grimm's airport strategy here, and hopefully this bottom isn't cut off. But Grimm is trying to brute force the airport. So Jake is going to hit this infantry over and over, and Grimm is just going to keep join capping, and eventually the airport will be Grimm's. Right, that's the strategy. I don't think it's a particularly good strategy. It's cheaper than buying another artillery, I guess, because you'd have to join cap 6 times in order to make up that artillery cost. But I think you want that airport a lot sooner. And speaking of anything sooner, Jake is just going to try and nab this comm tower right here. Goes after this infantry to weaken it and gets the nice forest tile for that extra defense. So it didn't really matter a whole lot because there's no tank in range of the recon, but at the same time, it's good to get in good habits, use that extra defense. And then, okay, Jake's gonna join cap right here, but the artillery is gonna hit it, but then the copter is going to hit the artillery right back. Also, the copter's covering this comm tower as well, so Grimm's got to be careful capturing that. So we might see an anti-air over here from Grimm to try and get that comm tower. Although Grimm doesn't necessarily need comm towers, like Grimm would prefer if there were fewer comm towers, because Grimm already hits the attack thresholds that he needs to hit to two-shot stuff on buildings. With that 30%, even with a 10% defense bonus, like if Jake were to pop his power or B Von Bolt or something like that, Grimm would still guarantee two-shot all of his units on buildings, which is huge. Oh, knocks the infantry down to 1. I think that was a high roll. And there's the joint happening there. And goes in for the interrupt. Hey, you stall at that comm tower for a turn. You weren't doing much of that 5 HP infantry anyway, so a good use of it there. We call that the desperado in chess, right? You just take something down with you, and Grimm goes for the interrupt. Not bad. You just got to make sure that you're not throwing away too many infantry interrupting, because that's something I do. Great shot, but I think Jake will end up winning this, because I think this infantry can come up, hit this, and then the 4 can either sacrifice itself for damage, or, yeah, this infantry's too far away. So the 4 can sacrifice itself for damage, and then this guy can trade this, and it's like a 1-for-1. But it does slow down Jake's capture game, and Grimm is up 1 city, and we are tied on comm towers. Grimm is about to get this, but the copter can interrupt. There's no anti-air or anything in range. So we'll see. Will Jake go after the artillery or go after the comm tower? I think maybe going after the... I don't know which is better, because you could keep joint capping, but that's just going to be a big money sink. Okay, goes after the artillery right there, knocks it down to 1. So this city's got 7 capture points, so after this joint cap here, it's going to go through next turn. Hits that guy down to 3. This airport's got 7 capture points. Eventually that will be yellow. But let's take a look at some of this tank positioning. Down here, tank chain, tank on a city, solid. Up here, though, this tank is just completely hanging. This tank's too far, this tank's too far, and Jake can go move this tank on the woods, move this tank on the road, and just bop it, and just clear that tank for free. There's nothing Grimm can do about it. And there's really nothing better for these tanks to do, right? You could, if you want to counter this tank over here, you can just build a new one. You have 18k in the bank. So, gonna start this as well as get a free recon shot right there. So, Jake's cooking with gas, but instead of going for the free tank, actually goes for a shot here on this infantry, trying to win this city. Grimm is up 2 cities, might be up... No, Jake will interrupt this. But I think this is not what you want to do with your tank. First of all, your tank is right in range of this one. And second of all, this is a free tank. So, I think Jake is... Okay, so just takes the shot here. 5-7, right? So still positive for Jake, but the problem is, I don't know if using this tank down here, I think the fact that this tank is in range automatically makes it a blunder, because like you're just giving up a shot. And I think just taking out this tank and just, you know, doing that for free was better than going for this infantry. And yeah, you're getting this, but you're like trading a tank for it. Or like, I mean, I think this can knock it down to a 4 probably with Grimm stats. Especially since Grimm's getting another comm tower. Yeah, so good chance it gets knocked down to a 4. So I think that's a little suboptimal from Jake there. But, okay, moves off and goes here for a nice trade. Not sacrificing for damage for the 1-to-1, but just retreating this guy back on the lab. Maybe you can go on that city and get healed up. And going in, yeah, that's a guaranteed takeout right there. And the worst part is the tank can't even trade because there's no copter counter, and the copter covers these two. So unfortunately, that infantry was just completely hanging right there, and not the best positioning from Grimm. And Grimm moves back over here, content to have slowed out this city. Finishes off this right here because Jake didn't join cap. Oh, because instead of join capping, Jake moved up here. So that city's back up to 20 capture points. Grimm join caps down here. It's down to 4 capture points, and probably one more join cap ought to do it. There's a tank to counter the recon. And almost finishes off this and uses the 5 HP tank to interrupt, which will save Grimm's income. This tank's too far to trade, though, so the 7 HP will be able to take it out. And then this tank's also hanging. Or let's actually see if Grimm builds another tank there. We'll see if the tank. Okay, there's anti-air. You need the anti-air to counter the copter, but this tank that's completely hanging into this copter, so Jake's gonna get a nice hit right there. And then this tank can hit this, but it also is probably just better off taking out that 4, as this tank's too far away. But this is a free shot from Grimm right there, so we'll see if Grimm takes it. Yeah, just going after that city, moving this tank in, preparing for that tank shot. And yep, there it is. Nice shot. 8-4. This tank. Oh, this tank's not even in range to hit this. Great positioning there from Grimm. So I like that turn from Grimm. That was good. Yep, there's the free copter shot right there. Knocking that tank down to 5. Gonna start this. This guy's gonna join cap, and that city will fall. Hits the infantry. It's got 4 capture points, so 2 more turns. The airport will finally belong to Grimm. Grimm is up 2 cities right now, but down a tank right there, and basically uses the recon over here to interrupt. And this tank doesn't even shoot. It just sits here. As Jake goes for this city, not going to happen. Grimm's just going to go on this mountain and smack it. I don't know what this tank's doing right there. Maybe he wanted to hit fire and just misclicked. But now Jake kind of spreads out. This is not a free shot. This 8 HP tank, I don't think can hit these to remove an infantry to allow this tank to hit. But we have a copter too, so Grimm's gonna need an anti-air, probably out of this base. But this tank can cover it. So we could see some real spicy brawling going on over here on the left, and that's exciting. Both regular powers are online, and we'll see if any of them get activated. There's the join cap from Grimm. Finishes off Jake on the comm tower, so Grimm's got that 1 comm tower lead and 2 cities. Finishes off that 4 HP tank as well. Goes for the interrupt right there. You got to keep that city lead, right? Finishes off some of Drake's infantry and takes a shot there. This tank just has to go back and get healed. Now the anti-air is nicely covering everything. But this tank, this is a sitting duck again. This tank can hit. This 7 can probably finish it off, or at least knock it down to like 1 HP. So, although this tank is covering, so it is a little bit risky for Jake to go in there, as this tank will get healed up to 7 and be able to go trade one of Jake's takes back off. Okay, and we have a nice little 3 tank formation over there by Grimm. And we'll see how this spicy brawl comes out. We got tank, anti-air. You need that. There's too many tanks in this area when you're shifting these tanks away, and then the anti-air needs to counter these 2 copters. Some YouTubers better than me, I think it was Degis, said that you want a 1 anti-air per 1.5 copters. And if you're bad at fractions, then that sounded like way worse than it was. That sounded super pretentious. If that's a little hard to think about because you like integers, then think about it like 2 anti-airs for every 3 copters, right? Okay, there's the join cap. Finally, that city might be falling. And yeah, Jake just goes in, takes that shot, takes out the tank, clears it out. Now this tank will get healed up to 7. We'll be able to trade one of these out. But then Jake could tank chain, Grimm could tank chain, we could see what happens, but we'll see what Jake does. Jake is trying to hit this weasel infantry that Grimm had, hitting the city, and Grimm will get the airport next turn. Finally, Grimm will get the airport, as both players are at 19 cities, and Jake actually goes here, doesn't even shoot this guy, just starts that cap right away, and the tank copters move up as well. Might be planning for a hit on the right side. Hits that. a bunch more units get built, and now it is back to Grimm. And there it is. Doesn't waste any time. Just takes the gloves off and inserts the yellow comet-colored brass knuckles right here, ready to smack Jake. And we'll see what Grimm's got with this haymaker. First of all, we got to capture that airport. That's we've been working on that for a lot of turns. Hey, interrupting that. Well, it's not interrupting. That's got 13 capture points, but hey, this infantry, 8 HP on the woods, no chance. No, yeah, you already know that tank. That tank was weakened, but now it's at 2 HP. That infantry is weakened. That allows the anti-air to finish it off. But the good news for Jake is that the anti-air is over here and not over here where all the copters are. And Grimm could build a, or no, put the infantry right here and then block for a copter build. But I'm not sure if Jake would be able to one-shot infantry on a road. If Jake activates the super, yeah, there's a good chance. Okay, so maybe you can't really do that play. You could use a tank to block for a copter, but you want your tanks during your haymaker turn to start hitting things. Yeah, hitting infantry. Anti-air comes in over here to go closer this way. But however, up here, I think Grimm kind of chickened out. I think this 7 HP tank could have taken one of these out. Let's take a gander at the old damage calculator here. 7 HP tank guarantees one shot on the road, and in a forest, it is a really good chance to one shot. So it looks like a 80% chance to one shot there. So, you know, you activate this haymaker, you might as well use that offensive capability. So you bring this 7 HP tank in, you smack one of these. This one's either dead or this one's at 1 HP, and then this infantry can come in, pick it off. And then you have put this tank on the lab, and you can like basically get a tank right there. Instead of like just bringing this tank back, I feel like if you're going to use that haymaker, you want to be attacking. But Grimm is going in here. Just imagine if you popped a tank right here and had that tank here. Now you have this tank covering as well. And I think Grimm would be really winning this side of the board. Grimm does get the interrupt there and takes out some of these infantry. So Grimm is trying to save the cities. However, these need another anti-air or something right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anti-air would cover this tank right here, but Jake's going to get revenge with his superpower. And okay, there's the anti-air. Absolutely necessary build right there. And anti-air here as well. Smart move. You got to counter these copters. We'll see if Jake activates the block rock. There it is. Bring out the subwoofer. Here comes the block rock. About to start yamming on the guitar. Takes out that infantry. Might as well. That artillery had nothing better to do. And yeah, these two tanks are going down. Takes out that 7 HP tank out of anti-air range. This tank's very weak. There's no tank to trade it off. This capture, though, not going to go through. That's just going to have free infantry there. And unfortunately, this anti-air was within tank range of this. So I really think that that moving this tank to this city right here, bopping that tank, was definitely the play. The anti-air would be safe and not down to 4 HP. And I'm not sure. Yeah, the copter can't even reach it. But I think a copter is not afraid of a 4 HP anti-air if it like attacks first. So shuffles up some more units, and these copters going fearless, taking out Grimm's infantry on cities, not letting Grimm get these captures. Grimm's still up 2 cities and 1 comm tower, but Jake, I feel like, is getting these unit trades, and Jake is up 14k in value as we have that 7 HP tank gets traded off. Grimm's going to get that comm tower, going to start this. And everything else moves up. Anti-air and infantry combine to take that infantry out. Tank goes over here to get healed. And this 8 HP infantry will get or at least weakened. Okay, yeah, that 2 HP will do it. Grimm will be able to tank chain right there, no problem. With that 19.5 income. And Grimm just really loves putting his tanks on this city. But at least this is a tank chain, not hanging. And finishes off that tank right there. So putting a lot of pressure on Jake's 2 middle bases right here. Jake's got 19k coming, 2k in the bank, so definitely can afford a medium tank. So we'll see if Jake decides to build a medium tank to counter all these small tanks in the area. And finally, Jake gets to the city. Now we're even at 20 cities apiece. And then, actually, I didn't even notice this. Grimm built a copter right here on the bottom, and Jake will come in, hit that, try to trade it out. The anti-air will be able to trade out the copter, no problem, but then you have the tank ready to trade out the anti-air. And actually, Grimm base skipped. Grimm base skip for this copter. Oh no, this could be a good opportunity for Jake to get some KOs here. Jake can even bring this copter in. Because you have this one anti-air and these two copters, so could have gone here and popped this, or even popped this tank because there's no anti-air coverage there. But Jake decides to go over here and maybe help out with the defense of this area, so fair enough. I think in Advanced Wars by Web, sometimes there are critical positions where there's only one good move, but I think in the majority of positions there's many good moves. And I just never find any of them. I always find the blunder. But going in, this anti-air is going to heal up to 5, able to trade off one of those copters. But Jake is doing great on the value front, up 20k. But what can Grimm do? Well, oh man, that 5 HP anti-air with the Grimm stats, able to knock that copter down to a single HP. One-shots that tank, and here comes the Knuckle Duster. And we'll see what kind of destruction Grimm can wreck here. Grabs this city. Grimm is now back up 2 cities. Starts this one. Anti-air, yeah, you already know that thing was gone. And might as well use this 3 HP copter to hit this tank. So Grimm has done a great job defending this area, and this tank will be able to hit the anti-air, but Grimm could just build another tank right there to defend it, so not a problem. And now Grimm goes over here on the left, taking some free shots with vehicles, going after this city, and hey, that's a free interrupt right there, able to pop that tank. This anti-air looks a bit exposed, but you gotta counter this copter somehow. And this tank, let's see what that 4 HP tank does. First of all, this tank goes and picks off an infantry. Oh, it is within range, though. So that's going to get traded for sure. And yeah, we're going to see some brawling here. So Grimm at least used the Knuckle Duster, got a lot of engagements. Got to, take advantage of those extra stats. But now here comes Jake. Takes out that anti-air, which frees up this copter to get a free shot on that tank on the road, knocking you down to 4. And now that tank is hit, knocked down to 3. So yeah, gonna trade out that anti-air. Nicely done by Jake. And the copter joins with that 1 HP. And not using this tank to hit this, using infantry instead to knock it down to 2. Oh, but now this tank finally goes over. So could have done that a little earlier, not taking that 1 HP counterattack damage, but that's not going to lose you the game or anything. Joins right there, and there's a tank. So Jake's just kind of holding on right here. Grimm doesn't really have the infantry presence to really push this corner, so Jake doesn't really need to overinvest, just do something about those vehicles. Takes out the infantry right there. Grimm will get another city and be up 4 cities. Yep, there it is right there. Now Grimm is up 4 cities and a comm tower, but still actually doing better now, down exactly 12k. After that anti-air shot, and infantry is able to pick off the other infantry and takes out that 6 HP tank. Gonna shoot the infantry on the mountain. Tank takes a shot. I'm gonna pick off some infantry as well. And we're gonna need some anti-airs or copters over here to counter Jake's copters, as Jake is doing. He's not Andy, right? He knows what an airport is. Goes in, and this copter as well, preparing for that hit on the base. And okay, this actually is pretty good position here with the infantry. Now the tank cannot hit the anti-air, and the anti-air is not in range of the airport, though, so not getting the airport lock. But it doesn't really matter, as I don't think Jake wants to overinvest in this corner anyway. And Grimace now builds his copter out of this corner, which is nice. See more copters flying into the action. You gotta love copters, but that gave enough charge for another block rock. So let's see what Jake's got. With that extra movement, though, that positioning was good, but Grimm did not, and nor did I, account for the block rock, and pops that anti-air. That's a one-shot, so we could see a copter come out from Jake there for free. Takes out Grimm's infantry on the comm tower. Will Jake make a play for the comm tower? Takes out that 8 HP tank right there. And Grimm only doesn't have any vehicles down here in this middle section, so Jake can make a push on it, and that's exactly what he does. Takes out a couple infantry, basically for free. This copter goes over, ready to shift to help out with the attack, and just making a play. Bang! Grimm's still up 4 cities, but Jake is starting to getting that value advantage, up 15, or sorry, more like 14k, and Grimm resigns. Now, I think this resignation might have been a tad premature, because Grimm is still up 4 cities, up in unit count, start of Grimm's turn. But being down 14k in unit value and not having a lot of answers to these copters and these tanks could be the beginning of the end for Grimm. Like copter out of here would be pretty good because you can counter this tank right here. Excuse me. These tanks can kind of regroup and either like try to go here and fight over this. But I think this is definitely better for Jake for sure. And I don't think this is a bad resignation at all. I think it was a turn or two too early though, and Grimm might have been able to get like a good turn or something in before resigning. But I don't really know what I'm talking about. But hey, this game was awesome. It was really fun. We got to see a bunch of armies just clash and brawl, and that's always when Advance Wars is the most fun, in my opinion. Not a big Advance Wars fan. And I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one.